I think for somebody that says that they don't use their left hip well in their golf language, yes, that can absolutely be from what we're seeing in our non-golf physical exam, and that would actually be one potential reason that you wind up with a beat up spine with some fecal sac compression, which isn't a big deal, but it is part of understanding that it's not a big deal to one person, it could be a very, very big deal to another. We would go to half kneeling, and that's where we started, because it's usually a kind of a sensational way to show them that you really don't have this ability to maintain an extended hip in this easy, relaxed, moving type position that you see in inline half kneeling. But then I said your biggest money will probably be from finishing your deadlifts, from finishing your kettlebell swings, from some type of extension-based single leg technique like a step up with a knee, some of your sprint drills. All of those things will feel different if you're not really drilling through the hips with this posterior tilt to create incredible amounts of force to finish the lift, where if you have this big time arch, it's just not heavy enough. And you should feel, hopefully not pain, but not be able to execute. Something I would say is, as it relates to other positions, that nobody ever gets hurt on a heavy deadlift. They get hurt on an almost heavy deadlift, where if it was heavy enough to do a big single, then you would only be able to use what is efficient form for you, which might have a range that may not be shared with someone else. You might be able to throw your head back and it not be a pain. I'm not sure. I think you got more in the tank. That's what I would say. But I also, at the end of the day, I don't really care how much you deadlift or if you think you should or shouldn't keep your neck packed. Anyway, the goal is to not have to override it and pack your neck. The goal is that's just where you put your neck in a position. And as we go back to motor skill acquisition, sometimes you do need a feed forward mechanism so that you can easily utilize a feedback mechanism, which is really what's being trained in that inline half kneeling. Now, that's one side of this. I do think there could be an SI component to this that we do need to do a better job of putting into place. Do I think Eldoa at 2-3, 3-4, 4-5, and 5-1, so the two that did ring the bell on MRI, above and below. So let's at least start there. And I think we need to do a better job of evaluating, that's my fingers getting into the SI joint, understanding some of the pumping positions. I use the pumping positions as the evaluative approach. I'm not good at, feeling for every single person, for the greater arm, the lesser arm, the base, the apex, the isthmus, nutcrackers, all these different terminologies that are all very, very useful. I'm not good at that, or at least not good at it yet. Unfortunately, I'm not getting better because I just use the pumping positions. And if we get 2 or 3, 4, 5, good aggressive repetitions of that type of therapy, we just retest. And then you just correlate the Eldoa to that. And again, with a loss of hip external rotation, I think you'll find the greater arm is involved more than the isthmus alone or the lesser arm alone. So that's that piece. But now, I did use, just to show him how stiff his thoracic spine was, we did some of the prone thoracic extension pumping drills. And it's like, if I block at the lumbar, I can move him like this. But if I block just at a random point in the thoracic, so now again, here's a golfer that's really skinny and wimpy, but can hit the ball a mile. You start to see that not everybody always goes by the same rules. And I do think that stiffness to the thoracic probably has some kind of correlation to that right shoulder if there is a big interest in potentially rebuilding this young man. I don't know that that's absolutely necessary. I do think that when he said that, I really struggle to engage my left hip and I feel much more stable when I do, I'm like, yes, okay, hang on to that construct, because that construct does make sense for what we're seeing on physical exam, and what we're seeing on physical exam does make sense for what you see on imaging. But if he had gone somewhere else, I'm not sure that there would be this linkage to this MRI, where I do understand why it's meaningless. Like once we got to the end, I'm like, we'll just keep that in our pocket. Like there's nothing we're gonna do about it. Like it's probably not even the case now, or it could have been the case all the time and it just became meaningful to you. I have no way of saying why that may have been meaningful. I don't even know if it was. I don't even know if it was something else. I have no idea. I can only go by what this imaging says at this particular point in time. But it does make a little bit of sense to create a narrative, and then we see what dance. We see how the song goes. We dance. And what we're going to do is not really mobilize into hip extension. We will mobilize into external rotation. If he gets more, I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't really care if he's symmetrical, but I do want more on that left side because there's something going on with that left side that he said. And that's very, very important because this is all about golf. This isn't about, somebody that crawls in with back pain and we have to solve it. This is about helping this individual make a lot of money in the game of golf. So we're going to look at the glutes. We're going to try that. But then I really do think that there will be, this is a golf thing. And that's another piece that I think is important. I think a lot of golf professionals, that are willing to work together, they're like, if someone doesn't do something when they're swinging the golf club, okay, let's get them into fitness. Let's get them into therapy. If that doesn't work, it's because it's a golf problem. It's not a fitness or a lower level of motor skill problem. It's a high level of motor skill problem, and you're not the one, Mr. Golf Pro, that's solving it because you're just not nailing it. I don't know what the golf drills were, but because we do have good safe communication, I would say there's got to be some kind of golf drill where you can impact some kind of object but not use your arms. So something that comes off your belt, because the thing won't go anywhere if you're not creating force from your lower half. He creates a lot of force from his upper half, which is very, very interesting, where the thoracic pieces are so stiff. So that's where we're going, and very interesting case study here.